Hey, how's it going? My name is Darby Rollins. I am the founder and CEO of Gen AI University. And in this session, I'm going to be sharing with you a practice that I call productive play as it relates to using AI for enhancing creativity and having a little bit of fun learning new skills in the process. Now, what I'm going to be covering inside of this video is going to apply if you're interested in music or creating sounds, songs, and just experimenting with AI tools that can help bring an idea or a vision that you have for a piece of music to life. Keeping in mind that prior to this session, you may have no experience with music. You may already be an experienced musician. You may be considering picking up music, but you just don't know where to start. And the great thing about where AI fits into this picture is it doesn't matter what stage of being a music artist or just experimenting with AI in music that you're at right now, that what I'm going to share with you is going to apply to improving yourself and improving skills on your own and flexing those creative muscles along the way. Now, throughout the process of this video, I'm going to show you a few very specific tools that I've used personally when practicing my own version of productive play to create music. Being a drummer and being involved in music, I've had a lot more exposure to music than someone that is just obviously getting into creating music right now. But what I realized when I started using AI to help me with the process of creating music is that actually solved a very specific problem that I knew I was experiencing, and I wanted to apply myself and through this process of productive play to learn how to not just create music, but help with fleshing out some ideas I had for songs that were in my head and actually getting them out and distributed to the world. But I was stuck in terms of my own experience being I have a drum set. It's an electric drum kit. I live in an apartment or I have lived in an apartment for the majority of the past few years. I'm living in a house right now. And I love playing drums and I love playing along with music tracks. And I know that I can apply myself to drumming and it stimulates my thinking. I get into flow, and often it's a way for me to sort of meditate with myself when I'm playing along with music. And there's a lot of constructive aspects to learning music and playing music that you can read all about with just some simple Google searches or literally asking ChatGPT to walk you through some ways that music can be productive for you and developing your brain and additional soft skill sets, as well as other applications of being a musician and understanding what music is and how to produce music. And so throughout this video, I'm going to show you the process that I've gone through to not only ideating a song, but how to actually work with an AI platform that will allow you to break through this writer's block, so to speak, but for musicians. And I've seen this in comments in places on Reddit and other conversations online with other musicians that are using AI tools like this in their workflow, is that it's not replacing the act of being a musician for those that are using it professionally, but it's acting as a tool to stimulate their thought process or any sort of writer's block. If you're playing any type of music, you might run into music block, and not being able to get through slows you down from that process of creating and producing. And so the tools I'll be walking you through are how to start from scratch with just a few simple prompts, just your own language describing the words that you would want to be putting into song, and then how to innovate and iterate on what you're inputting to the AI system to refine the outputs, and then ultimately create what I would say is not a complete song at this stage in the game, but getting you 80% of the way there to then fine tuning the rest of the piece of music that you're producing in simple tools. I've used GarageBand for this because I have a Mac and I think it's a simple, easy, free way to get started, but there's a lot of ways that you can use the same exact workflow that I'm going to be showing you to apply for your own process. And where I was getting stuck and where I wanted to learn how to use AI inside of this process to not only create a song, but also create a song that I could distribute on platforms like Spotify, like Apple, like YouTube, and a number of other streaming platforms that at the end of the day, knowing how to create music and songs and anything art related is amazing. And I would consider myself an artist in a lot of regards at that same note. But if you can't get your art or your creations out there and distributed across multiple platforms so that people can see and start to consume your content in an easy and frictionless form, then there's a lot of opportunity that is just not being tapped into because it takes systems, it takes having the right levers to pull. And obviously, you want to be producing good content that other people and the people that you're producing it for want to listen to. Now, where this ties back into productive play and where I'm going to start jumping into the demonstration for this session is producing for an audience of one. Because let's be real, whenever we're producing for something that has to have a desired outcome for other people, based on deadlines, whether it's a homework assignment that's due today at school, or you are producing a project for a client that has a certain deliverable. And when you're using AI instead of specific work-related tasks that have specific outcomes, it can just feel like work sometimes, even if you're doing it faster or more efficiently and doing it in a more productive way. It can still have your brain in that kind of work mode. And often I like to explore and experiment with AI tools that don't have to do and be related to me having to work on a client project or having to hit a certain deliverable or a deadline or something related to the day-to-day of my business operations. I want to have a way that I can have fun a bit with these tools and be productive with that. And so what I do when I go into this mode, and where I would encourage you if getting started with music and just going through this process once, is creating for an audience of one. And that audience of one is, in my case, it's me. And in your case, it could be you, or it could be a person that you want to produce it for. Like, I'll make songs using these tools just for my fiance. And I don't have any intention of it being shared outside of that, but I know the type of music she likes, and I know that she can give me input, and I can take that input and I can create something. And in going through that process, while I don't have a desired business outcome, so to speak here, I'm still developing my skills and how I'm able to utilize these tools most effectively just through the practice, again, of productive play in this case. And so what you will see as an end result of what I've created here, I've produced a song, is my first, I guess technically second song, but it's the one that I'll go to if I want to listen to a rock anthem that I created for myself called Keep Calm and AI On by Donnie Hammer, which is just AI powered music artist alias that I have social media channels and distribution set up for now through this process that I work through, because I wanted to figure out, how do I go from an idea of a song to creating a song with AI to editing it a little bit inside of a tool like GarageBand, and then publishing it out there in the world and getting it distributed so that I could just open up my Spotify account and start to listen to my own songs. And I might have 2 or 3 listens a month, and 2 or 3 of those listens may or may not be me listening to my own song. But like I said, you're producing in this framework for an audience of one, to something that's not tied to something that has to have a specific business related outcome for you, but rather something you can have fun with and learn a process through. And we're going to be showing you how to do that with music. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right. And so what we're looking at here is the library in a platform called Suno. Suno is a generative AI music creation platform that allows you to write prompts and extend on specific pieces of sound and music that you like to create full songs. You can see a lot of what people are creating on Suno here. And the process to creating is very simple. When you click create in Suno, you'll have the ability to create a song description. You'll be able to select if you want it to be an instrumental. And you can even get ideas from Suno here on the left-hand side. But on the right, you can see we have a lot of different songs that have been produced, or at least been started to being created. And with these prompts, we're basically what I'm describing, what do I want to hear with this type of music? And that's what I'm seeing over here. And that is what is relaying the sounds or the instructions for the sounds that I want to hear to the AI, which is then taking that with its reference points of all the music it's been trained on to create sounds and outputs that I can use and then extend on. For example, when you're just going in creating from scratch, you can put in a prompt over here, like rock music, with any instructions that you want to use and create with. So describing your favorite sounds, your favorite styles of music. Do you want a male or a female vocalist? Do you have lyrics that you want to create? All of this is just done over here and the song description and can be built upon using the extend feature. So what happens when you create one of these initial outputs is you're going to get a 1, 2, 3, 4 minute output from Suno that you can then extend from specific areas of the song. So if you liked 0 up to 30 seconds, but then it dropped off or went a direction you didn't want it to go from there, you can actually extend it from that timestamp on the output and create different variations based on that and refining your prompts. And so this is what happened in the creation of the Keep Calm and AI On song. I had an idea, I had a title for the song, and then I wanted to basically find a good intro that I could then build on. And that is what essentially was the entire process, was finding those clips and the sounds and the structure of the song that I wanted it to follow and extending from the pieces of the song I was generating to create the fully fleshed out version, or at least 80% of the way there, where I would then go and add it to the rest of the music editing process. But we're going to jump back into the library real quick. So as we can see in the library here, I'm going to go ahead and find it again because some stuff can get buried. Let's just start with this. So we see here the part 1, and then we have these different revisions, and there's other parts that we saw earlier. I'm going to say AI, see if it does it. But yeah, basically, let's go ahead and click this here because I believe this was, yeah. So part 1, V3. So as you go through creating content inside of this tool called Suno, you'll notice that this is the part 1, and this is basically my introduction into the song. So if I don't like the intro, then I'm not even going to worry about extending a song. And so my first part of the play mode here is just in what does my prompt look like that's going to describe the music that I want to hear, and are there any lyrics that I want to display at the same time or that I want to have said or vocalized. So the prompt here was a nu metal rock song in 140 BPM, which is beats per minute, with cosmic nu metal sound for riffs telling a story through time and space, mantra house. And so there is a few different genres of music that I've mixed into here, pulling from different sounds, different bands that I like, and different types of kind of like music that I want to hear, but I don't know exactly what it's going to sound like until I know that the prompt that I'm putting in is articulating those sounds properly. And in this case, you heard the song as we opened up this part of the video. That's what this sounds like to AI. And you can do this for so many different types of music. You can do it for playing the flute by itself, or acoustic guitar, or saxophone, or tuba, or a number of other things that you want to combine together. It's simply a matter of having an idea of what you want to hear. How fast is the tempo? With the 140 BPM is a bit faster of a tempo. You could have much slower beats per minute, and it's obviously going to slow the song down and how the music is being relayed and instructed to the AI. And so you can see all these different prompts under the different songs that we played with to end up at this. And notice something like this, mastermind and machine. This was another just variation that I didn't end up going with, and it gave it a different title when I was creating this song. And of all of the content that we're looking at right here, I'm really, the aspect of creating what I ended up putting on Spotify was running through a number of different variations of what AI was producing based on what I told it with this prompt, this instruction to the AI. And then it gave me those outputs that I was looking for. And based on the outputs that I liked, I would extend and I would create a song. And you can see how this is part 2. You can see how this is part 3. What it allowed me to do is take a minute clip or a 2-minute long clip and then extend the one from the section that I wanted to extend it from at any given time. So if I really liked the way, and I did, the way that the song introduced itself, and I was like, oh, that's catchy. I like the riff of the guitar, and it had a nice build up that I would have a lot of fun playing along with, and that I actually enjoy from my perspective as someone who likes rock and heavier metal. I like the way that it sounded, and your preference could be entirely different. And understanding your preference and how you want to hear the song as an output is where you can add a lot of direction and steering the ship, because for every 5, 10, or 20 different outputs, and a credit is going to give you, in this case, I think two different outputs per 5 credits. You can use hundreds of different credits, and it's going to create a lot of different songs with that you can experiment with. And again, breaking through that writer's block and knowing what you want to create for a whole song, you may not even know what you want to go into this with creating. But for me, listening and hearing that sound that I really want to lock in on is the most important part of this stage, because I have an idea. I'm giving it prompts for my sound that I want to produce. I'm going through a number of different iterations, and that's okay, because the AI operating in the background, based on all of the information and the music that it's been trained on, and giving you something that is unique to the prompts that you are providing it. And so it's taking its general knowledge and it's focusing it in with the prompts that you're giving it, and it's giving you outputs that you can choose and decide where you want to go with that next. And again, I probably spent an hour to 2 of playing around with this and stitching this song together. But once I got all 3 parts for this song, that ended up making the full, I think it's 3 minutes and 11 seconds to be exact, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. Yeah, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. The ending, the last track right here that you can see, is only 14 seconds. And that was because the first 2 parts that I ended up putting together from Suno, I was like, that is a good place to end it. And then I think I ran it 4 or 5 times at least to get a finishing track that finished the song up the way that I wanted it to end. And once I had those pieces of the puzzle put together, I was ready to move on to the next step, which was basically just getting this thing cleaned up a little bit in GarageBand and putting them together to move on to the next stage where you'd want to distribute them. And so I'm going to walk you through just a little bit of what the platform looks like on DistroKid, that you can produce these songs and get them out into the world to Spotify and different platforms like that. There's a few different platforms out there. CD Baby is another popular one. So do your research. You don't have to use DistroKid. It's just one that I found that made it very easy to get this process all the way to the finish line. And when I found the solution, I just said, okay, I think it was like $20 or something, and it allowed me to get onto Spotify and Apple and all of those other things. So with that said, I'm going to move on to the next step, which was now taking this song, and I'm actually going to skip the process of going into GarageBand and stitching these things together, because there's so much information on YouTube that you can find about how to just use GarageBand. The most important thing is having the full clip of the song that you want to produce. And let's just say this was that clip that you wanted to produce as an example. You've already extended it. You can share this clip directly, or you can download the clip as an audio file. And that's what I would recommend. And you're taking it on to any of the next stages, is getting that audio file. And then you're going to want to, master it in some form for quality of sound, and get it onto the next stage of the music production process. And you could spend a lot of time beyond this first initial raw piece. And again, a lot of musicians that are using these tools I'm seeing are using it as that ideation and starting block, and then mixing in other musicians. You're adding in your own ideas, and you're layering and building on top of what could be the baseline or a foundation to the song that you're creating. The song that I produced here was pretty much 100% artificial intelligence, besides my direction on iterating on the process. And so let's just take it the way that I did it and not get into the weeds of editing things inside of a platform like GarageBand or a number of these other music editing platforms. But from the point, let's say you've got a 3-minute song that you've created here inside of Suno, and you want to get this out into the world, what's next? Well, the next step for me, once I stitched everything together, was distro. So when you get to DistroKid, again, like a number of platforms, the goal is to how do you get your music on Spotify, and how do you get people listening to it? How do you get your music into production? And for me, I wanted it on Spotify so that I could listen to it and I could play along with it and I could share it with friends. And so from the point of getting to a platform where you're ready to take the song that you created and get it out there into the world, you're going to need the distribution. You're also going to need things like album art, which I'll show you how you can very quickly do that inside of something like Chat GPT. Let's go ahead and dive into DistroKid. Here we're at inside of a DistroKid dashboard. And again, I'm not a professional like music artist that's doing this right now as a full-time thing and looking to like scale up my music career. I was doing this to have fun, and this is something that I do and enjoy as a hobby. And you're going to get bombarded all across the board with all these different forms that you end up using with different offers and services to do different things with your music. So this is not just a general endorsement for everything that's on here, but this is a portal to getting your stuff out there in the world if that's what you want to do. And for me, again, back to the whole practice in this version of Productive Play with Music is how do we go from an idea all the way to distribution, and using AI to helping us with being creative and kind of a song along the way. And so, as you can see here, I have 2 songs up. One I listen to and play along with a little bit more regularly. And when you want to upload something into the DistroKid, you basically just need to set up some things like in your account. You need to set up a personal profile, payment methods for how you want to get paid, and if you buy any of the services here. But when you go to clicking uploading any service, you're going to have the ability to drop your music onto different platforms. So you don't have to go on all of these. Put these on. You can end up, being able to find your music and clip it on certain platforms, tie it into your posts, which is kind of a cool thing to do. You can upload multiple songs. It's just going to ask you some basic questions. So you choose to upgrade. You can choose not to. You can add your artist or band name. And there's just a few steps for going and setting up your Spotify, your Apple Music, YouTube. And I believe that some of these may help you with setting up some of your YouTube music one. But I'd already had social media channels set up for some of these and got a Spotify account set up as well. So just a little bit of legwork in terms of setting up your account that has to be done in order to your content, onto those channels. But once you've set those channels up, then set up, and it's time to just keep contributing and things like that. So when we get down here, you got an album cover. And so this is something that you can create your own art. You can use a number of different resources out there. There's so many ways that you can use and existing images, use it in a tool like Canva, and Unsplash has tons of free photos, or you can use things like ChatGPT and other to generate album art, which is what I did. You can upload the track, you can upload your audio file. And one thing that you're going to run into when you're uploading any sort of audio file that I discovered going through this process was mastering the file that you're finally producing out here. Pretty standard practice, and it helps make the song sound a lot better. And so there's basic things you can do to master your tracks and just kind of sounding a bit better when you're listening to it on speaker. And you can do that. And there's some free services, there's some paid services. And in terms of the post-production of this, you can go kind of the quick and dirty route, which is how I tend to choose to approach things with a Productive Play. And then if there's any part of this throughout this first process that I realized, oh, I want to actually learn a bit more about that, or I want to go deeper on this, I save that for another session, because it is a lot of aspects that go into fully producing and creating and scaling up a career as a music artist and a producer. And so this, again, just tying it back down to like the audience, I'm producing this for myself. What do I see as the final product here that I could walk away with going through this and learning the skill of creating and distributing music? Well, I can set all of that up through here. And inside of DistroKid, I can set it up to continue. And after you go through the process of uploading your content, it ends up getting submitted and distributed over the course of about a week or two. And you can track your stats from people that have listened to it. And so over the course of the last 365 days, I've had 42 listens. The last 7 days, I can all but guarantee you that that was me playing along with drums. You can see your stats here, and it's cool to see, especially if you're starting to use more and more songs. You get more and more things out there to see what is getting listened to and doing additional things to market and grow career as a musician. Another thing you can do is add in splits, which I think is a pretty cool way to use a platform like this if you're going to go about this collaboratively. I've always artists that are very collaborative have been doing this for a long time, where you'll collaborate with other artists and then you'll co-create something together and you make a new song, and you can get in front of a lot of new eyeballs with that same approach. And so you can also add people on as royalties here and collaborate and co-create, which is where a lot of the fun is going to come in, taking steps in the direction of growing a music career. It's all about collaboration and distribution at the end of the day, which collaboration is an aspect to helping create these distribution channels. And so essentially, that's the process of going from Suno all the way to DistroKid. The last thing that we're missing here is how to create album art like what you see here. Both of these album images were created in ChatGPT, and I simply took those images and I walked into a tool called Canva, and I added the title that I wanted to have it be, and I produced that music, that track with the artwork on it. So I'm going to go quickly show how at GPT you would just add some simple prompts to describe your image, and then we can go into Canva for the final album artwork and pushing that out there, add in for the entire song. Here we're inside of a tool called ChatGPT. There are a number of different AI tools out there that can work with you to generate images and a lot of other creative assets. GPT is obviously just more popular ones that allows you to do this with just your natural language. And so what you can do inside of ChatGPT, and I often like to quite literally speak to it, is just describe what you're looking to get and then get the art from that you can use and modify and then add through your own iterative process. But if you're just getting started with ChatGPT and you want to know how to make some basic images that you could build on for your album art, start with a prompt. Creating an album for a song called Keep Calm and AI On. It should be cool and futuristic and be related to drumming. Just a simple prompt. And ChatGPT is going to take that input, similar to how we were using it to describe the song. Well, I want to look at, would this be something that would illustrate the song that I'm trying to create or the album that I'm producing? And again, you don't have to use AI at all for this process, but if you wanted to brainstorm, get the creative juices flowing, maybe something like this could look cool. If you liked an image like this, for example, you could take it, download it, and then get it to that final album art or song artwork that you want to produce. Say, do it again, more drums, please. As of course, I'm a drummer. I always want more drums. And you can continue to refine and edit with the process in this regard. One thing you can also do in the same instance is if you have a band or a style of creative that you're looking to go for, you could experiment with ways to create additional posts that could go on along with promoting your song if you wanted to do this. And think of all the creative ways that you can leverage ChatGPT in this case to help you with, now that you've made the song, if you wanted to do so, promote the heck out of it and get more people to see the song that you've produced, or something like this. That looks pretty cool. If I like this, I would save the image. And then I'm going to go on to the next step with finalizing it in Canva, making any sort of edits onto the image from there, and then analyzing that image into the DistroKid platform that we were discussing. And so a very simple process would go to Canva and uploading your image. I'm going to show you just very quickly right now before we wrap up. And then that'll be it for the start to finish of how we're getting that final song onto idea to creation to distribution, productive play with music. All right, last step right here. DistroKid recommends a 3000 by 3000 pixel image, which I just pulled this up to show you how you would go about just simply adding those images in. So I downloaded that one from ChatGPT. I just dragged and uploaded it here into my Canva, and I can do a number of things from here. I could add text, add fonts, and if I just wanted to add a title and say, Keep Calm and AI On, and this is minimal creativity right here, but this is just the start about what it could be, right? You can update positions, update the transparency, do a lot of different things if you want to, or you don't have to put anything on here if you don't want to. are some guidelines for like DistroKid and these platforms have around what can be on an album art or a song cover art. So you want to just make sure that if you're getting to this stage that you are being compliant with what can be on here. I think they say things like don't have like a domain name or something like that on the album art, or you could get they might not like certain things on an artwork. So keep that in mind, but very simple in a tool like Canva that is free for a lot of features to get you started. Of course, they have different level of accounts for professionals and otherwise. You can create the album artwork right here and then hopping right back into DistroKid, submitting your content published on that platform and your song all the way from Suno and just a few prompts and your own lyrics can end up being produced onto Spotify. So to wrap things up, you would add your album artwork right here. You would adjust any of the other, select all of the things that you would need to select before your song gets put out into distribution. You would continue, and then in a matter of a week to maybe a few weeks, your song will begin to appear on a lot of the popular song streaming platforms. And this all started with an idea for a prompt, a song that we wanted to create and something that we were doing in the context of productive play for an audience of one. And we can get that onto platforms like Spotify. But now going through this entire process for me, and my prerogative with doing this for myself as the audience of one is to now I know the entire process to get creative with a tool like Suno, and going back into it, I can create so many things with this platform. And so jumping back into Suno to wrap things up here, you can see there's so many different types of music: meditative, psytrance, tribal, new wave. I'm just experimenting with what kind of sounds can I create here? How could I get inspiration from these sounds? And what do I want to do with these sounds? If I like them and I want to take them to the next stage, well, there's a lot more that goes into being successful in music than just throwing songs on Spotify, but you've got to be able to get there first. And I'd like to be able to play along with songs that I enjoy playing with. And now I know how to create those songs, to ideate and put those mixes together, and then ultimately produce those for my own self-serving playlist that could be a whole lot more one day. But for the purpose of where we're at right now, that is how I use the practice of productive play in my own music. And I hope that this process has been informative and helpful in showing you from start to finish how you can very quickly leverage AI to start to create and produce music. And there you have it, folks. That is the process start to finish and how you can use AI, starting with a tool like Suno, mixing a little ChatGPT into the equation, and platforms like DistroKid to distribute your music to popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and how you can potentially even use this to monetize your songs as you grow as a musician. But more importantly, how you can practice this process of productive play to learn how to produce music and have a little bit of fun along the way. I hope you found this useful and actionable. And if you'd like to reach out to connect with me, feel free to find me online, LinkedIn at Darby A. Rollins, and let me know if you put this into practice, how productive play works for you. I look forward to hearing how you use this concept to create some cool music. And as always, keep calm and AI on. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.